This lesson is on the percent proportion. If you look here, we have is over of equals n over 100. We're going to see a few examples where we're going to read the statement or the sentence, and we're going to need to fill in the is, or the of, or the n, or the one that's not going to change and is in our favor is the 100. No matter what, the 100 will always be exactly where it is. So we have three choices. We need to find what we could put in for is, or what we're going to substitute in for the of, or once again, what we could possibly substitute in for the n. Now, of these three numbers, again, the 100 is the one that does not change. The next easiest one to identify in these sentences is the n. Now, if we have a sentence and it gives me a number with a percent sign, that number now becomes my n. And we'll see this in the next few examples. So the most difficult two, I guess, would be the is and the of to identify. Let's see what I'm talking about. In this example, it says 60 is 25% of what number? All right, so the first thing I did was I wrote down my percent proportion. Is over of equals n over 100. All right, so I'm going to set this up. Is over of equals n over 100, and again, the 100 keeps its spot and does not change. 60 is 25% of what number? Now, I just said the number with the percent sign is the first easiest number to identify. Now, if a number has a percent sign, this number automatically becomes my n. So that number is going to go over the 25. So 25 over 100. So now I have to find out, now this 60, does 60 represent the is, or does 60 represent the of? So let's look at this. It says 60 is 25% of what? 60 is, this part is now my is, of what? Well, that's what I'm looking for. I'm looking for the of. So the of is what I don't know what it's going to be. So 60 is becoming my is, so that becomes my numerator. And the of what? Since I'm looking for the of, and I don't know what the of is going to be, we could call this my x or n or any variable in this case. We'll call it x for this example. So now we have a proportion 60 over x equals 25 over 100. Now, the first thing we should try to do is try to always simplify a fraction if you have one. So in this case, I see 25 over 100, which can be simplified. So I'm going to rewrite this as 60 over x equals 25 over 100, which simplifies to 1/4. And now this makes my fractions or my proportion a little easier. So I'm going to multiply x times 1 and just get x equals 60 times 4. 6 times 4 is 24. Add to 0, and I get 240. So if we fill this back in, 60 is 25% of 240. Let's take a look at another example. Again, I'm writing my proportion is over of equals n over 100. The question this time becomes, what percent of 20 is 4? Let's start with my proportion. The 100 never loses its spot. That goes exactly where it belongs. Again, the second number, or the easiest second number to identify, is the number with a percent. So in this example, there is no number here that has a percent sign. What percent is what I'm actually looking for? So the number with the percent is actually missing. So that automatically becomes my x or my unknown. What percent of 20? Of 20. So this becomes my of. Is 4. This becomes my is. So I'm going to put in 20 for my of, and 4 is for my is. And again, always try to simplify if you can. In this case, I can simplify. 4 over 20 can simplify. I could divide both of these numbers by 4, and I would get 1 over 5 equals x over 100. Again, cross multiply. 5 times x, 5x. 100 times 1 equals 100. Dividing both numbers by 5 in order to get x by itself. 5 divided by 5 simplifies, and I'm left with 1x. 100 divided by 5, 20. So 1x or just x equals 20. Now this said what percent? So be careful that your answers also includes the percent sign. So let's go back. And let's put our percent sign in here, so 20%. So 4 is 20% of 20. Next example. 40% of what number is 82? 40% of what number is 82? Starting with my proportions, 100 in my denominator. Doesn't move. First easiest number to identify, the number with the percent sign. If I have a number with percent, say thank you very much and put that right on top. So 40 over 100. 40% of what is 82? So the of is the part that's missing. And here's my is, which is the 82. So I'm going to put the is in the numerator of what, that's the part that's missing. So I'm going to say x over, or 82 over x. Again, always try to simplify if you can. So in this case, I have 82 over x equals, now I can divide both 40 over 100. I can simplify both of these. And I can divide these both by 20. This becomes 2 over 5. Cross multiply. X times 2 is 2x. 82 times 5. 80 times 5 is 40. 400. 5 times 2 is 10, so equals 410. Solving for x, I want to divide by 2 to clear the numerator, to clear the coefficient. X equals 2 goes into 410, or half of 410 is 205. And again, make sure you're not solving for the percent. In this case, I'm not, so I do not need a percent sign. So 40% of 205 is 82. Which, think about this logically for a second. If we think about what 50% of 205 is, we can say, well, half of 205 is about 100. So 40% should be less than 100. And you should always think about your answers logically before you're putting it down. Okay, last one. 60% of 80 is what number? 60% of 80 is what number? Now, we've done problems in the past where we had 60% of a number. The percent proportion is useful. You can use it in any case. So you have a couple choices here. We've had one choice where we could turn 60, since we have 60% of 80. So if we just concentrate on this piece here, this means 60% of, again, meaning multiplication, of 80, turning 60 over 100 times 80 over 1 times 80 over 1, excuse me. And then again, we can simplify 60 over 100 into 3/5 times 80 over 1. Divide both 5 and 80 by 5. 5 divided by 5 is 1. 80 divided by 5 is 16. 16 times 3, and we're getting an answer of 48. That's one option. 2, 60% of 80. Again, we could turn 60% into a decimal. So this is 0.6 times 80. Do the multiplication, and again, you should see you get an answer of 48. And again, the third way is now with our percent proportion, is over of equals n over 100. Filling these in. Again, my 100 does not change. I'm given the number with the percent sign, so that's the number that goes over 100 right off the bat. Of 80 is what? Is what the part that's missing. There is my x. Of 80 is my numerator. Simplify where you can, always. So x over 80 equals 3 over 5. Cross multiply. So we got 5 times x. 5x equals 3 times 80, 240. Divide each side by 5. And once we see that, we see x equals 48. So again, for this particular problem, when you have the percent and the of, you have choices. You can choose to go with fractions, you can choose just to multiply, or you can use the percent proportion. For the other examples, the percent proportion is a nice strategy. It pretty much lets you know what to divide, what to multiply, and go from there.